Florida. Thank you for joining us. If we could have your name and address, please, sir.
My name is Simon Cleary. I live at 355 Victoria Street. I feel like I'm at a auction here. This is good. I love Niagara-on-the-Lake. I have to give you a little bit of history here. I first came here in 1977 and fell in love with it. A few years later, I managed to move here, open a store, and I had it on Queen Street. I had a business. It didn't do so well, but I loved it. I stayed in town. I got a job at the Shore Cafe. They had noise problems, but I had a job. But the council took care of the noise problems. They had enough power, enough bylaws to deal with it. I think the lesson to be learned there was back in the old days, they used to use amplification. So you've got to be very, very aware of using amplification in any sort of performance center when you have residents around you. But while I was living on Queen Street, I used to live over in Crabtree and Evelyn, had no air conditioning, I remember that. And I lost my cat. Yeah, I lost my cat. I went looking for my cat, and it had gone to the back. And that was the back of the art gallery that Tricia Romance has at the time. And I'm telling you, that is one of the most pristine properties or gardens you can possibly go in. I would go as far to say that Tricia Romance, Gary Peterson, are most probably, absolutely, bar none, the best stewards of property and landscaping in the town. So if you have any qualms, just take a look at their buildings, folks, because they are the best the town has to offer. And you should get some sense of security just from looking at that. But here I am back in Niagara, and I was in Nova Scotia. I used to live in the most amazing house overlooking the ocean. But here I am back in the beautiful Niagara-on-the-Lake. This is such a fabulous town. This town is better today than it was 20 years ago. I come back to the beautiful vineyards, and it's the inns, it's these establishments that bring us tourism. That's what makes this town so wonderful, beautiful, and alive. And guess what? My jacket's over there with my wallet in it. How many places would someone do that? Leave their wallet just over there. You don't do it. This is beautiful Niagara-on-the-Lake. And I know of these. I do know of Tricia and Gary from old. They are such fabulous people. They always supported polo when we used to do it. You could not get a better couple to go ahead with the romance in. And I look forward to the day I can sit in the piazza, raise a cocktail to romance it. And I hope everyone else does too.
Thank you, Mr. Perry. I'd like to know 20th Street Victoria, please. And thank you for joining us. If I could have your name and address for the record, please.
My name is Corinne Hunter, and I live at 17 Promenade. Mr. Chair, Lord Mayor, members of council.
Ms. Hunter, I'm sorry to interrupt you. You may want to tip that microphone right in there.
I live very near the proposed hotel and conference center. I thank you for this opportunity to voice my concern over the report issued by the Community and Development Advisory Committee, referred to as the planners. I would like to begin by pointing out that the strategic vision for our town is to support and sustain a high quality of life for our residents. I also want to highlight that the official plan states as one of its goals to ensure that existing housing and existing residential areas shall be preserved and improved. I would ask that you join me in viewing this report from the perspective of the people who have lived in the King Charlotte neighborhood and will have to live with this development. In other words, I speak as one of many people seeking to actually live the high quality of life described in the strategic vision. I expect the professionals working on the public payroll to work on behalf of the public. I expect the goals of the official plan are the goals of the administration. Unfortunately, this report meets none of these expectations. Instead, the entire report becomes an exercise in finding ways to approve this proposal. proposal. An inordinate bias has been demonstrated, and I ask you, as the decision makers, to take a more balanced view. Repeatedly, our official plan emphasizes the need to carefully manage the interface of residential and commercial zoning. It is addressed in both the residential and commercial portions of the plan. It mandates that there should be at least as much consideration for the residents and existing residential neighborhoods as there is for the singular developer. Yet this analysis repeatedly minimizes or dismisses the interests and concerns of the people who live in the neighborhood in order to arrive at the conclusion that this particular proposal is the only alternative for the property. Please consider the following. On page 10, in response to the question regarding the social impact of the development, the neighborhood is not even mentioned. There is obviously no consideration for the residents here. Furthermore, some of the logic in the report is astounding. For example, the conclusion that the property has not functioned as a residential property for over 30 years, therefore we should make it commercial, is difficult to grasp. The uses of the property have in fact been relatively benign over the past 30 years, resulting in the evolution of the neighborhood around it as it exists today. But this is not justification for commercialization. Another example is the repeated statement that the hotel development is about the same size as other hotels in town, therefore it must be okay. There is inadequate consideration for the fact that this hotel is being pushed into existing neighborhood. The planners also repeatedly stated that the development is contained within the walls of the estate. This is ridiculously incorrect, as there is no wall between the immediate neighbors to the northwest and southwest, including Weatherstone and Christopher. Furthermore, the wall itself will do little to reduce the impact of noise and activity, as seems to be their implication. The planners repeatedly dismissed the need for current and meaningful data in order to justify their conclusion. The needs analysis and the traffic study are just two examples of very questionable reports that are inadequate. Yet the planners accept the opinion of the developer in lieu of independently gathered information. It seems obvious that current and therefore relevant information gathered independently must be used to make a decision of this magnitude. The official plan states that each individual commercial area and its surrounding uses shall be considered so that a cohesive character may be promoted in keeping with the character of the adjoining areas. In response, our planners end up concluding, and I quote, "This development will coexist without causing undue adverse impact." Perhaps the strategic vision could be altered to indicate that Niagara-on-the-Lake is a town where residents will suffer adverse impact. It just won't be undue. There is no way to conclude that this development will do anything to improve the King Charlotte area, as would be expected based on the official plan. Instead, it will violate a long-standing precedent of residentialism. The planners argue that impacts can be mitigated, but that will not preserve the character and the feel of the neighborhood. There is no way to mitigate 2,400 cars a day on Charlotte Street. There is no way to silence the noise that will be created on the property. There is no way that the activity generated will be contained on the property. A few more feet and another hedge will not change the fact that this development is too large and intense for this site. I ask you as the decision makers to revisit the strategic and official plans. I ask you to consider the many resident stakeholders in this decision. I ask that you demand meaningful information to support your decision. And finally, I ask you to consider the possibilities for other alternatives, rather than accepting this proposal as the one and only future for this estate, the one and only future